Up about a half hour from now. Right now, it's an interesting time. I've been doing this show for about 5 years, and this time of year, I've come to learn, is particularly busy for family law lawyers because in a lot of cases, people who plan on splitting up stick together to get through the holidays. They don't want to disrupt the family until after the holidays. In January, apparently, tends to be quite a busy month for separation and divorce. And some lawyers advise it's probably a good idea to stay off the internet if you're going through it. Joining us right now is Rick Patika, family lawyer at Shulman and Partners, LLP. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Barb. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us.
Happy New Year.
Is it true that it's not always a Happy New Year for people who have been planning to split up?
Well, it may or may not be. And you were correct before when you said that a lot of people begin looking at initiating a divorce in the early year, especially in the new year. And it may have to do with having a New Year's resolution to kind of start off on a clean slate, so to speak, and they're just taking steps to move in that direction.
Is it actually a thing where family law lawyers are quite busy in the month of January?
Yeah, they start picking up at this time. That's correct, yes.
Okay. One of the things, and I would think this is actually a bit of a no-brainer, but I guess it's not. People need to know that what they post on social media can be used against them in divorce proceedings. Is that correct?
That's correct. If it's positive or negative, anything that's being posted online is basically up for grabs and can be used in a court proceeding if the direction of the divorce should go in that direction.
Have you seen social media become more of a factor over the years in your practice?
It has, and obviously it impacts generally custody claims, depending on. I like to conceptualize that when it comes to the internet and divorce, it's information that people take from the internet and then information that they share on the internet. And in the latter category, if you find a spouse who's trying to attack the other spouse, then that, and they have kids, then that will come into play in determining custody. So,
can you give us an example of that kind of scenario and what you should not be posting, or what could be useful for you to post? Because you said sometimes there are good things that can be posted.
Well, for example, you don't want to be attacking your ex-spouse or trying to portray or bring out the skeletons in the closet of what he or she has done and attack them directly, or publicize it to friends or on Facebook or other social media sites. Positive things could be that, and it will be more innocuous, let's say a day trip, or a parent spending time with their child, especially if one parent is trying to say that the bond between that child and the parent isn't as strong. Sometimes those pictures, photographs of just showing a child with their mother or father can convey otherwise.
Let me ask you about another thing that just came to mind. Do nasty text messages ever get used?
Yes, they do.
That's one thing where I bet people, because I've heard of a number of scenarios where people receive just the most vile texts from their ex, and I'm thinking to myself, if anybody ever got a look at that could certainly show somebody who has anger issues or control issues or any number of things. But I'm sure people who send those texts don't even think about it possibly coming back to haunt them.
Well, they're probably not thinking about it at the time when they're writing it. They think that they're just going on some sort of a tirade and they want to express themselves. But unfortunately, it does catch up to them because it will be put in front of a court, and the court will use that at least to determine the level of communication between those two spouses for purposes of custody.
All right, let's talk a little bit. So we've just got a couple minutes left. If somebody is listening and they're in the situation we were discussing, so, maybe it's part of their New Year's resolution. Look, I want to do things differently. I want to make a change in my life. And where do they begin if they're thinking about splitting up with their spouse? How do they even begin?
and assuming they've already had the conversation, the relationship is over. The first step is really to ask, get on the same page with the spouse to see if they can come to some sort of an agreement ultimately, and that they want to try to keep the hostilities down, especially when there's kids involved. And that's really the first point of the discussion, is really to understand that the relationship is over, that they both come to grips with it. But they have to learn to get along for the sake of the kids, especially when there's kids involved.
How often do you come across people who have sort of mutually agreed and everybody's on board with it?
It happens more often than people think.
Okay.
It's more times than not. In my practice, I've seen about 60 to 70% of the time people are on board. They've realized that the relationship is over and it's really time to move forward with it and de-escalate whatever's happened throughout the course of the marriage or the relationship.
Well, and as you say, that's so important when there are kids involved, because the kids end up being, they bear the brunt of whatever tensions are going on with the parents, it seems.
That's correct. And the last thing they want to do is start involving the kids in the middle of their dispute, adult dispute, or using the kids as some sort of pawns just to further their own agenda.
Are people wary of lawyers? Do they think that every family lawyer wants to just take all their money?
I think that's the perception out there. But at the end of the day, I mean, the role of a family lawyer is to try to bring a quick resolution where possible and form an agreement between both the spouses, and to really keep it outside of court. I mean, that's the role of the family lawyer. Unfortunately, the few cases, or the few percentage of cases that end up in court, are really the minority of cases, because most people decide to try to keep it outside of court and try to work a resolution between themselves.
Rick Patica, we always enjoy hearing from you. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you for having me, Barb.
Family lawyer at Shulman and Partners, LLP. You are listening to The Night Side. It's 9:15. News Talk 1010, Time Saver Traffic.
Still just the one issue on the go, and it's a big one. 403 eastbound at Mavis, all lanes completely blocked with a crash. It's been there for a while. Nothing getting through, so 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 nothing getting through.